All right, and we are live with the Simply Amazing Mets post-game show. Shout out to everybody in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or the PSF app here. I have my dual screen up and running here. We're going to be running a dual Mets post-game show, our first one together, Rob. So I definitely appreciate everyone being here. Thank you all so much. Like I said, if I'm looking this way, it's at my tripod setup, and if I'm looking this way, it's at YouTube. Welcome to the Simply Mets Amazing Mets post-game show. We have a sweep officially to talk about, and we are going to get right into it. Rob, first and foremost, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I mean, the Mets got the sweep first of the year, got the 2 games over 500. We're looking good right now. We are on the PSF app. Can't see my face, but you can definitely hear my voice. So I'm ready, guys. This was a ho-hum victory, 9-1. I put my feet up. It was a comfortable victory, so I'm ready to go. Let's talk Mets.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk Mets. And before we get into that, if you are in the chat over here on YouTube, first and foremost, make sure you hit that thumbs up for us. We know a lot of Mets content creators are going live. It's an exciting time for the New York Mets right now, winners of 10 of the last 13 games. Obviously, first sweep of the season. It feels great. It's a great time to be a Mets content creator. So like I said, we appreciate the support. Hit that subscribe button. And as always, make sure you're hitting the live chat with your thoughts, comments, opinions, all that good stuff. And we'll answer them one by one here because we do like to foster engagement here on the Simply Amazing Mets post-game show. And not only that, as always, if you're on YouTube and if you're looking to connect with more Mets fans, make sure you download the Pro Sports Fans app, PSF app, in the App Store. Join the Mets fans community. Like I said, I'm looking at the Mets fans community right here on the PSF app. Download the app, and we do dual streams. We'll be doing post-game live streams just like today, as well as in-game live streams for when Rob and I have our schedules settled. I know Rob's undergoing a move right now, but listen, we are here to bring the content for you all. Listen, Rob, we have a 9-1 victory for our New York Mets. This is absolutely electric. No better way to start your Wednesday afternoon. I know some people are still at work. Definitely the diehards checking in on their phones and texting me saying this is an electric win. Had to do the post-game show. We're going to get into it here by starting to talk about Mr. Luis Severino, who honestly, I'm not sure if you have a different opinion, is my MVP of this game right here. You can see the long dreaded 6 innings pitch category, the marker that everyone's been asking a starting pitcher to go for the New York Mets. He gets the job done today. Now, was it a absolutely efficient, stellar outing? No, it was definitely a little bit of like get out of a jam type outing, get out of a leadoff walk type outing. He only had 3 walks on the day, but it feels like the pitch counts and the off-speed pitches could have been a little bit more efficient. But nonetheless, you can't complain at all. 4 strikeouts and only 1 run surrendered, and that was unearned due to a couple of errors that inning, and that was the sole run that the Pirates would get today. Rob, I know that you were hustling, bustling around today. I know you were listening to the game on the radio while you were in the car. What did you think of today's game? And just give me a little bit of a vibe check. Everybody, whether you're in the PSF app or whether you're on YouTube, give me a vibe check. Give me an LFGM or an LGM, whatever you want in the chat. Hit it, Rob. Let's get it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for you to argue with you about the MVP. Like, we wanted the pitcher to go 6 innings, right? It only helps our bullpen today, and we got the off day tomorrow, even better. And what I liked about Severino was he was struggling early on, a couple of walks. He made that. I think he was one of the ones that made the error today. He was good. And what did he do? What all the Mets pitching has been doing? Giving them quality starts, giving them exactly what they need, and it gave the offense enough time to score runs. And again, he kept us in the ball game. That's all we're asking for these guys. I don't consider anybody an ace here. Sevy, he has the stuff like an ace, but he's not an ace. Same thing goes for Quintana, anybody else. Doesn't matter. Give me a quality start every time out, and I could say our team has a chance to win because we got a lockdown bullpen. I honestly think we're probably the best bullpen in baseball right now. I think we were number 3 in bullpen ERA. I mean, we might be up to 1 now, if I'm not mistaken. That
I
was a
think
couple of
we
days
are
ago.
1. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And Severino, I mean, what did he do? He gave us the 6 innings, and we only have what, 7th, 8th, and 9th for our bullpen arms, and now we have a day off tomorrow. Exactly what we needed from Sevy. Now again, if we would have lost today, it's not on Severino. It would have been on either the offense or the bullpen on not doing their job. But everybody did their job today. I mean, Bader looking like a hitter, that home run over the wall. But Severino, man, this guy, we talked about this in the offseason. This was a smart pickup. Not only is it a year where he's got to prove himself, if he's healthy, he has ace type stuff. And you've seen it today, even with only 4 strikeouts. He got better when the game got on. And that's what I love to see about Severino. So MVP, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, like you have the unearned run coming on a couple errors, but overall, the Mets defense was very solid behind Severino today. And overall, the last couple of series, right? This is the this is the 4th series win in a row for the New York Mets, right? The first sweep of the season. This is like a defensive display that we're seeing here. Zach Short had a great defensive play today at third base. Jeff McNeil, the hardest hit ball in today's ball game of either team was off the bat of, I believe, O'Neal Cruz, 112 miles per hour. Jeff McNeil stopped it and was still able to get to turn the double play, right? To give it to Francisco Lindor to turn the double play in time. Like it was absolutely phenomenal defensive just a phenomenal defensive display today, Rob. Like I have nothing else to say about it other than that. And that's exactly what the Mets have needed. And that's what David Stearns has preached all offseason is defense and run prevention. You get that with Jeff McNeil, right? He's not the prettiest at second base, but he gets the job done. Obviously, Zach Short taking the offer. We'll talk about that here in just a second with the offensive sort of metrics here in the next slide or a couple slides from now. But regardless, if you're playing defense for this team, you will get your opportunity at some point with the bat as well being in the lineup. That's just the bottom line here, especially with Zach Short. So Severino, game ball to him. I believe the first Mets starter outside of Jose Buto to go 6 innings, if I'm not mistaken, this season, correct?
Yeah, I do.
Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea did it once.
Oh, that's right. His first start.
First go around.
First start.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
So there's nothing more to say. Sevy, literally, like in just like a rare company for the Mets in general, but he gets the job done today. And it was looking a little bit hairy there. I'm not going to lie. He got helped by a couple double plays. Like I said, the pitches, the off speed just wasn't efficient, but he settled down. Now the movement on those off speed pitches were wicked. You can't deny that. They were wicked, but he was missing down and away to right-handed batters, and to the lefties, he was getting that ball just in under their hands. And you saw Rowdy Tellez especially was the prime culprit of that strikeout on that off-speed pitch.
I was just about to say that. Like I just got in when I saw that slider go just enough in on the lefty Tellez, and he swung right over on top of it and couldn't get a piece of it. And that's what Sevy is. Sevy is a guy that continues to show what type of stuff he has. And again, if we can keep this guy healthy, and I think this when Sanger comes back, this 6-man rotation might happen. Even if it doesn't, you got to be careful with Severino. Even though he's been pitching well, out of nowhere, something injury-wise could happen because that's just been his career, unfortunately. But if they can find a way to keep him healthy, there's no reason why he can't be our number 2 because he's that damn good. When he's on a roll and his confidence is sky high, he can be one of the best pitchers in baseball the way his stuff is working. And right now, it's not ace level type stuff right now, but 5-6 innings, 1 or 2 runs. I mean, you can't ask for more than that from Severino right now. I don't think anybody is looking for more from Severino, at least right now.
And that's back-to-back great starts for Luis Severino. Today, obviously, in the Royals series as well, where he went 5 innings pitched, and he also pitched tremendously with 7 strikeouts in the Cincinnati series. Also, that was just a culprit of bad defense, giving up 2 runs, one of those which was unearned, I believe, in that series. He pitched phenomenally, and like Darren is saying in the chat here, shout out to Darren Rivera, by the way, also saying in the PSF app that the Mets MVP this series is Connor Joe, and he had a series to absolutely forget. So shout out to Connor Joe as well as the entire New York Mets team for showing up this series flat out. The Pittsburgh Pirates were 11-5 coming into this series, and now they leave Queens being 11-8 on the season, and that's what the New York Mets do. But absolutely, Sevy was on one. I want to just get a vibe check here. We got a lot of people in the chat here on YouTube. Like I said, we got about 35 people on YouTube here. We got about 17, 18 people in the PSF app. I appreciate it. Jay is saying sweep. We got Junior saying what's up to everybody here. We got Darren per usual. We got Oliver in the chat as well. We got Mike in the chat here. Rob, 87 degrees here in Florida. Are you here yet and enjoy it? So there's your little update for Rob as well, obviously undergoing that move. We got Daniel in the chat as well. He went 6 innings. Everybody's hype about this. Like, this was like the test. This is the barometer of Mets fans, right? Just being satisfied with their performance versus being ecstatic about it. 5 versus 6 innings, it mattered, and it matters to all of us fans, especially to the bullpen who's looking to be saved. And by the way, Jorge Lopez coming in, doing a great job. Jake Diekman as well, looking very fierce out there, especially for lefty batters, getting a couple of strikeouts. And obviously Grant Hartwig getting that not save opportunity because there's a 7-8 run lead at that point, but he looked pretty sharp as well, recently being called up. So shout out to the chat. We also got Robert here in the chat saying what's up, fellas. So we definitely appreciate it. Like I said, if you're in here on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. This is a new experience for me. I'm doing the Simply Amazing Mets post-game show. I'm streaming to 2 locations. If I mess up here, if I slip up, please, it's just literally my anxiety acting up about talking to 2 different groups of people here. All Mets fans, all united as one. We definitely appreciate it, and hopefully you all are enjoying the content as well. The Mets get the sweep. We cannot be more ecstatic, and let's keep talking about the New York Mets and go a little bit into the offense because it was a hit barrage. And by the way, Rob, I know you were in the car probably listening in, but shout out to Mez that was on the pregame show today. He asked us in the chat earlier, have the New York Mets scored first in any of these games over the last week and a half, ever since this sort of not winning streak started, but the fun streak, as he said, started. And we were kind of struggling. We were like, maybe one time, definitely not in this Pittsburgh series. And we're like, maybe once during the Royal series. We couldn't really tell you, but the Mets didn't score first today either. They scored second, and they answered back with that Starling Marte home run.
Yeah, you know what's funny? You just put that lineup right up there, and what they did today. You know, it's interesting. Like we talked about, like it would be nice if they score early, but I don't know if this team. It seems like they got to warm up. They got to rev up the engine. You know, let that engine run a little bit, warm up the car, and then they start going. Like it's crazy to think. Like it is absolutely amazing. With this team, like, look, I'd rather them score 8 runs in his first 2 innings, and then I don't have to worry about it, than worry about going to the 4th or 5th inning. Yeah, it's something else because, like, I didn't even look at it, but I think it's 1 or 2 times they did it, and it's not a lot over the first 18 games, which concerns me a little bit because if you get into a situation where you get a good starting pitcher that goes 6 or 7. I know that's rare nowadays in baseball, but if they go 6 or 7 and the Mets can't touch them, are they going to have enough time getting to the bullpen like they did like yesterday and today when, you know, the Mets couldn't touch the starter yesterday for 5 innings, and then it took them the Pittsburgh bullpen for them to get going. You know, today it was just, you know, slowly but surely, you know, beating down the Pirates pitching little by little until it was a blowout. So, yeah, I mean, I don't care how you win. I don't, you know, it doesn't matter if you win all the games 2-1 or 9-1 like today. Doesn't matter to me. The fact of the matter is, a W is a W is a W, just like an L's and L's and L, right? 0-5 sucked, right? Doesn't matter how you lost. It's an L. So it's a W. I don't care. You know, obviously there's some things I would like to see this team do better right now, scoring early, but there's really nothing that we can really complain about scoring wise. But somebody said something in the chat. I don't know if I can find it. Damn it. I'm just trying to. Somebody said that. Oh, here we go. Daniel, shout out to you. Mets are second in Major League Baseball in scoring runs with 2 outs, 43. Atlanta is first with 45. Who said that the Mets are going to win the division or at least be close to it? Me. I know that's silly. I know I said that a couple of days. I said that on the roundtable as, I wasn't even drunk. And I said that because I feel like this team is better than everybody projected, at least nationally, people projected. Because I think when spring training was going on, Mets fans kind of, even before the Martinez signing, we're starting to feel like, maybe this team isn't so bad. Most of our pitchers were healthy, starting pitching going into the season. I really think that Mets fans, at least as a group, started to come around and think this team is not going to be as bad as the national audience portrayed. And once the Martinez signing happened, and oh, by the way, 2 weeks into the season, 18 games in, he's still not here, and the Mets are 10-3 in the last 13. So I love it right now. It's really hard to complain. And I wanted to say something, Chris, before we get continue going. But remember when we did the rankings on like bullpen, offense, starting pitching? What was our most concern? Our most concern was starting pitching. That was number one. Now, everybody, I think we had a couple of difference of opinions. Either offense was 2 or bullpen was like the least of our worries. I mean, what can you say you worry about? Are you still worried about starting pitching, or do you still worry about this lineup a little bit? Because I'm curious since you have it up.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the rotation was a little bit of a concern of mine. Obviously, not having that true ace when Kodai Senga went down, and also having the injury-prone guys and seeing how they were going to hold up over the course of 162, which the jury's still out on. I'd say probably my biggest concern moving forward is still the starting pitching. I will still hold true to that. I would say if you asked me this at the start of the season, especially when the Mets went 0-5, I would say that'd be the offense, and anybody would tell you it'd be the offense, right? But I still think it's the starting pitching, not only because the Mets are, right, the Mets pitchers really rarely go 6 innings, right? I think that's the common theme across all of baseball. But also it's like the Mets really just like the Mets starting pitching hasn't been as efficient as I wanted. There's still a lot of walks. The put away pitches still are not really there like I would like them to be. And so that's why I have the concern. The injury bug on the starting pitching front, right? Tyler McGill goes down. You have Jose Buta's replacement, right? Kodai Senga starting to throw. He's starting to throw in the bullpen. He's not throwing complete bullpens yet, but he's well on his way, right? He'll be here next month, maybe even early June, depending on how far the Mets want to push him and how fast. But it's really about the X's and O's of the efficiency game of the starting rotation, and that's my concern. So that's what I'll say is my primary concern: the efficiency of the starting pitching.
Yeah, you're right about the efficiency part. Yeah, and injuries you can't really, you can't do anything about. If there's an injury that happens, it is what it is. But like you just said, McGill went down, Jose Budo came in. Kodai Senga was out before the season. Tyler McGill picked up his spot before he got hurt. So, and you know what? I'm starting to not worry because I think David Stern has a plan for everything. He clearly proved it already. Like, oh, you guys suck in the bullpen. Okay, we're gonna throw you away, DFA you, and then bring somebody else in. And I think that's the way it's gonna be. Like, if God forbid one of our pitchers go down, he has somebody available, knowing who he's gonna have up. I guarantee you, he has a whiteboard just having names like, oh, he's next on the list if this guy either doesn't do well or gets hurt. I think he has a list for each one of those infielders, outfielders, starters, bullpen. And that's why I'm not concerned. Maybe that's naive as a Mets fan, as we are probably the most pessimistic fan base in baseball. But I'm not concerned for the first time in a long time because I actually trust the guy who is running this organization. I know Billy Epler could have been a hit or miss. Sandy Alderson, I couldn't stand. And it's like, we had how many GMs over, the last couple of, 4, 5, 6 years with DUIs and all this other nonsense that was going on, sending penis pics to women and getting fired. Like, there was so much crap that I always had to worry about with the person running things player acquisition wise. And I didn't feel like Billy Epler had the pulse of his team, even though I didn't mind what he did in the off seasons. But with David Stearns, I just feel comfortable. Like, if somebody goes down or somebody's not performing, I know David Stearns has a plan to replace that player, regardless of why that player has to get replaced. And that's why I'm not concerned, because I've seen him do it with the Brewers from afar, of course. But I'm never concerned about the pitching because he knows how to work the rotation and the bullpen, even with non-top guys in rotations and bullpen. He just knows how to do it. And, if this lineup continues to score 5-6 runs a game, we're going to be hard to beat regardless of if the starting pitching is kind of not as efficient as all of us would like, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Like, I don't worry about anything that David Stearns does from top to bottom. Roster moves have been solid. The DFAs have come when they needed to. And it's funny here because Lendog here brings up a great point. And people that are watching in on the PSF app, I really hope that you do hear Rob and it doesn't look like I'm speaking to myself here because his voice should be coming through to you all as well. He's not up here on the PSF app because we don't want echoes, but that's how we're going about it here. But great point by you, Rob. David Stearns, and we went over this on the pregame stream, right? Like we talked about David Stearns and trusting all the moves, even in-season moves, right? A lot of people had a hard time trusting his off-season moves, but those off-season moves have really proven to be crucial in terms of the depth aspect of this team, and we've seen that here early. Lendog brings up a great point. The Mets actually mid-game, I'm not sure if you saw this, they brought back Mike Tonkin, which is absolutely hilarious, right? Because they picked him back up for free, but they traded him for whatever they got in return.
Cash.
I think Mr. Nobody here is saying they got some cash in return. So they basically just got free cash assets for Michael Tonkin and his services returned to the Mets. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say that's not a good thing, but nonetheless, it's another arm, and you can never have too many arms, right?
And, sorry to cut you off. This is why David Stearns is good, because he's still working when this team is playing well. Like, he didn't have to pick up Tonkin, but you know what? Somebody might go down on the bullpen. Maybe somebody else is not doing well and say, all right, let's give Tonkin another, he'll be in the back of the bullpen and last man available if needed, extra innings, or, somebody doesn't do well and, it's a blowout. You throw him in there, maybe get his confidence going a little bit. And now you have another arm, right? Reed Garrett was a nobody, right? There's people that didn't even know who he was. And if he was bad, the people would want him gone. And Tonkin was good last year for the Mets when they got him from the Dodgers. So, he might just,
that was Bickford. That was Bickford. Tonkin was an off season. Yeah.
Right, my fault. That's right. I like Bickford, but of course he's not here. But that's okay. Yeah. So Tonkin is a guy that, he might not be around tomorrow, but I mean, it's an extra arm, and it's really hard. But again, it shows you David Stearns is always going through the motions, always working, not just enjoying the 10-3 out of the last 13 and sitting back and relaxing. He's working 18 games into the season. That's not normal. Like, it's really not. And it's important to realize that it shows you he's dedicated, and I love it. I really do.
And this is the epitome of what I said going into the season before game one. The opening day roster, right? We had a lot of streams on here talking about the opening day roster, what it could look like, who's going to get cut. The opening day roster that you saw on opening day, right, is not the same. It's going to be so completely different than what you see at the end of the season by virtue of the Mets just simply having a lot of depth. Injuries happen, obviously, but there's just so many transactions that are going to happen, and we've already seen a lot of transactions thus far and expect that to continue, especially with David Stearns. I always talk about the rotation of those bullpen arms. Grant Hartwig literally just got called up and got into the game today and closed it out for the New York Mets here in this blowout victory, and he just got called up a couple days ago, right? Was the call up, and Cole Sulser went down. And Cole Sulser, when he got called up, made a couple appearances, then he gets sent back down. This is the type of merry-go-round that we're going to see. And we're seeing these capable depth piece arms because the Mets bullpen, let's face it, has been taxed here early on this season. The big guys, Adam Ottavino, Edwin Diaz, Brooks Raley, they've had their works cut out for them. Even a guy like Mr. Drew Smith, right? That's why you see more of Reed Garrett, by the way, who has been absolutely fantastic. Leads relief pitching with 17 strikeouts. Shout out to Daniel in the chat if you're still here, giving us that little nugget earlier on today. But yeah, absolutely. This is something where it's just sort of like a baseball mastermind at play up at top. and you just simply don't worry about what the next transactional move for the New York Mets is going to be. So I absolutely agree with you, Rob. As always, guys, if you're in here, whether you're on PSF app, make sure you come over to YouTube. YouTube people, download the PSF app and join the Mets fans community as well. Great people, great media casters over there as well. Not only talking Mets with Rob and myself, but you got other media casters to listen to their opinions and thoughts on this team as this season is commenced. And just hit that thumbs up. We definitely appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. A lot more Mets post games are going to be in the works. In-game live streams are going to be in the works as well, not only on YouTube, but also in the PSF app as well. That is something that MediaCasters do, is in-game streams. You can do that obviously and listen to that in the PSF app. So a little bit of a plug in there. Make sure you go ahead and do that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We definitely appreciate it. But speaking of, I saw a comment on here about Mr. Francisco Lindor. Let me go back up to it. Oliver saying that fans are still backing up Lindor, and that's going to pay off because we know that he's a perpetual slow starter, right? We know that he's gotten off to an abysmal start, right? We've seen that in years prior, even going back to last season, year before that, where he just starts off slow. That's the type of player he is. That's the type of player he probably will continue to be. But then in the later months, right, I'm talking about like maybe late May, early June. Obviously, we don't want these slow starts. We want to see a complete season, but he puts up MVP numbers thereafter. But obviously, the Mets fans on X, on social media, everywhere have been discussing, oh, should we just boo the guy because he's getting paid XYZ millions of dollars? And you know what? It's great to see the fans in the stadium going and just basically saying, screw that. We're going to cheer our guy on just like the Phillies fans did. I'm not saying that the Mets fans are the same as Phillies fans, right? Two different teams, two different fields, two different organizations. But it's like a mimicking of a 2.0 situation where you rally behind a guy. Francisco Lindor even himself said, oh, listen, that felt good. This is home. I'm glad to see them cheering, something to that effect. Obviously not a direct quote, but it means a lot, and it is going to pay off. And by the way, in the pregame stream, I know you said to put in a couple of hits for Lindor if you're a betting man. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But even beyond that, he didn't get his hit today as a righty. He got it as a lefty, which is absolutely phenomenal. And even Gary Cohen said it, the rare lefty hit for Lindor so far. A lot of discourse surrounding that. But what impressed you the most about this lineup, right? You talk about Marte bringing the Mets back in the ball game, 1 for 5 with a 2-run home run. Bader absolutely pissing on the ball right to left field. Rows back, 10 to 15 rows back. That was an absolute moonshot. And you talk about Mr. Tyrone Taylor here, who I think is definitely the offensive player of the game. Obviously, late there, Francisco Alvarez had a chance to get an insurance run, didn't do it, right? With, I believe, second and third, 1 out at that point. Tyrone Taylor comes up right before the Bader home run and drives in those runs. And I believe that's what made it a 5-1 ball game. I believe 5-1 or 4-1. I apologize. I don't know what the score was, but he did it with 2 outs. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier in the stream, literally just 5 minutes ago, the 2-out hitting for the New York Mets with runners in scoring position. Tyrone Taylor has been playing his ass off, not even as an everyday player for the New York Mets. Part of that outfield rotation that we keep talking about. Mr. Tyrone Taylor, for me, gets my MVP on the offensive side of the ball in this game for the New York Mets. 3 hits here. You can see 2 RBIs as well. Phenomenal bat and just an absolute luxury to have off the Mets bench.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's some people that didn't really understand Tyrone Taylor and Adrian Hauser. The Adrian Hauser trade made sense because we needed an extra arm, and it was a veteran arm, which was good. But I think we all talked about this in the offseason when this trade happened, that Tyrone Taylor is going to be an excellent addition to this team. And this was prior, I think that was before they signed Bader, if I'm not mistaken, right? Was that the case?
Oh, I can't remember the chronological events of the offseason. It was such a long, enduring offseason, Rob.
Man.
You know this as well as I
It was
did.
stressful. It was a stressful offseason, but even if it wasn't, I believe it was before the Bader signing.
I think it was before. Yes, I think it was before.
Right, because I thought Tyrone Taylor was going to be the starting center fielder, and they signed Bader, and I'm like, wow, look at this. We got a starting outfielder that can play any outfield position, and he's a guy that provides power. Now, he hasn't shown a ton of power with us yet. He will, I guarantee you that. He's a power guy, but what he's doing, he's becoming a hitter right in front of our eyes. And look, I love the fact that our lineups are just interchanging with guys that can do the job just like the guy they replaced in the lineup. Like, you know, like Marte today. Marte didn't have to be in the lineup. You could have look, you had Bader, Taylor, and Marte all in the lineup, right? Marte, if I'm not mistaken, was he the DH today?
Yes, he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. So, and he hit the 2-run homer to get us started. And I like this because not only you're helping Marte out, getting him off his feet, you can use Taylor as well with DJ Stewart if you really want to give Nimmo some days off on the outfield, but still play him in the lineup as a DH. And you know, I know the Martinez when he does come back is gonna kind of jam up that DH spot, but you're not gonna play JD Martinez every day. Like you know, we might play him 4, maybe 5 times a week. He's getting days off. We all know that. But if the guys on the bench can do their job, and when they get called upon, do their job with the bat, then I'm okay with it. Look, if somebody put in the chat, if Martinez hits 25 home runs and 90 RBIs and say 110 games, I'll take. We'll take that. When was the last time we had another guy besides Lindor and Alonso put those numbers up? I take that in a heartbeat. So Tyron Taylor, obviously the offensive player of the game, but everybody, look, Short got on base, Alonso got on base, both got runs scored. You know, they were on base for guys to knock them in. It's not just all about hits and, you know, padding your stats 2 for 3, 1 for 4, you know, 3 for 3, not just that. Having quality at bats as well. That's why if you look at the box score, you know, with Alonso, you're like, oh, 0 for 2, all right, he didn't get a hit, but he was important in the game. He got on base. Same thing with Zach Short. And I like those at bats even more than the hits sometimes because it shows you that they're putting good at bats together to work that walk to eventually get score and get those RBIs for their teammates. I love this lineup right now. Everybody, Mendoza, every button he pushes is working right now, Chris.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick that up where you left it off about those I guess value at bats basically not being directly correlated in the box score, right? We all know McNeil has been coming around, adds another hit today. Obviously, it was a nice one. But the swing, I guess the sacrifice bunt that he dropped as well to get runners in scoring position, I believe that was the same inning that Francisco Alvarez failed to get those guys in, and Tyrone Taylor got that hit to score both of those runs. McNeil actually set that up with a sacrifice bunt. And the funniest part of the game was Gary, Keith, and Ron talking about how McNeil's like doesn't really usually sacrifice bunt, et cetera, et cetera. He's not going to bunt, and then he just drops down a beauty for a sacrifice bunt. So I thought that was hilarious, but also just adding up and like backing up your point of not all these at bats are going to show up in the box score, but it was a collective effort today. And obviously here with the lineup, Alvarez snaps the 0 for 11 streak or 0 for 10 streak he had with his first at bat, but a little bit of concern, right? He stuck it out for the whole game. Slid actually stole a base today. First move, first pitch off of the lefty Bailey Falter, stole a base. His wrist kind of got caught into the base, right? And kind of did like a awkward bend. And then the next half inning while he's catching, it actually got hit just straight up by Henry Davis's swing because he was called for catcher's interference and had his hand directly over the plate and literally like bat to bone, like at full speed. I don't know how he stayed in that game, but nonetheless, hopefully his hand and wrist is okay and he's able to avoid any time off. Now, if I'm gonna have to guess, that thing is gonna be sore not only tomorrow but the day after, maybe even 3 days. I would assume. I'm not going to just speculate, just like, you know, out of my ass right now, but I would probably, if I was a betting man, say that Narvaez is going to be catching the first game of the Dodgers series. I know a lot of people don't like Narvaez catching. We all know the discrepancies of how the starting pitching does with Narvaez back there behind the plate versus Alvarez. Alvarez has done a hell of a job defensively, a lot better of a job than Omar Narvaez has. But with what happened today on that Henry Davis swing and just the sheer, I guess, impact that his wrist and hand took today, I would be skeptical if Alvarez is in that lineup. And obviously, Brett Beatty as well, somebody to monitor. Good news about Brett Beatty, says he's feeling better and hopes to avoid the IL. So a little bit of injury updates there as well. So I want to shout out everybody in the chat, not only here on YouTube, but also the PSF app. Thank you all for watching. 50 people on YouTube here, about 17, 18 people in the PSF. Continue to hit that thumbs up. Continue to rock with us. We definitely appreciate a lot of more Simply Amazing Mets post games. If you like this setup right now, if you like Rob and myself talking Mets baseball, not only in our Amazing Mets pregame shows, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to both channels. You know where to find us if you're new here. If you hadn't heard us talk before, we do all the Mets content together. And I definitely appreciate you, Rob. I know it's a busy time for you, making yourself available for these streams and for the people as well. It's definitely appreciated. So let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Pirates series here in a little bit of review here. People on the PSF app, you can't see the graphic here that I put together on YouTube, but basically the Mets improved to 10-8. We all know that they're above 500. They reached that marker for the first time yesterday with that 3-1 win. A sweep here, and you see 3 runs in the first game here when Adrian Hauser pitching on the first game of the series, or was pitching the first game of the series. 1 run yesterday, right, with Quintana on the mound. 1-1 today with Severino on the mound. Like, the Mets pitching, bullpen and starters are holding the opposing offenses at bay, and the offense is showing up. 6-3, 3-1, 9-1. What was, like, Rob, if I may ask you, what was, like, just a little bit of like a series in review? Like, what was the most impressive point in this series for you? Like, what stuck out the most to you, if you have any point that stuck out the most to you? Because this is an exciting series. A lot of people, I'm not sure if you're hearing, a lot of people on my timeline on X are like, okay, we know we just took a series against the injury-riddled Braves, because you know the Braves get that excuse and the Mets never do. So, okay, the Braves are injury-riddled, so that therefore that discounts the New York Mets taking the series for them in Atlanta. But okay, the Pittsburgh Pirates are 11-5 coming into the series. They're going to give the Mets problems. They're going to give the Mets fits. I forgot somebody on the stream. I forgot who I was doing with. I was live with Ant from Subway to Shea, commented in saying the Pirates are going to take 2 of 3 from the New York Mets. We don't know if that was a Mets fan. We don't know if that was a Pirates fan. But nonetheless, you see the end result here. What stuck out to you? And just like, what were your in general thoughts if you had to summarize it here in one thought about this series?
It's kind of hard to pick one. Like, I'm in between two things: the comebacks by the offense and the pitching, because the comeback wouldn't happen from the offense if the pitching didn't hold it down. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with the pitching as like the real, point in this series that kept us alive in all these games. So I mean, I love the comebacks by the offense, but it would never happen if it wasn't for the pitching doing their job. And look, just look at it here. Look, 3-1-1. That was the run scored by the Pirates, who were scoring 5 runs a ball game, and we kept them from under 2 runs a ball game. So it's really good to see all around. But I mean, it's so like I'm really enjoying the pitching, because every day we're getting a quality start. Like, quality starts now is between 5 and 6 innings, 2 or 3 runs. The Mets are giving that every single day. Yeah, they had a blunder here and there, but more often than not, they're giving you a quality start. Again, quality starts gives your team a chance to win and gives your team or offense a chance to come back in ball games if you're down. So I have to go with the pitching, but the comebacks from the offense is not too far behind.
You know what I'm going to go with? I'm going to go a complete 180. Something that John Rossi here in the chat is saying. It's Carlos Mendoza for me. This series solidified my confidence in Carlos Mendoza. I love the come from behind wins. I love the offensive performances. I love Tyrone Taylor getting 3 hits, right? I love all of that. I love the pitching performances, the bullpen performances, Reed Garrett striking everybody and their mothers out, right? But I like Carlos Mendoza as a manager. I think fans are starting to trust Carlos Mendoza. Obviously, we've been in manager purgatory for the last couple of seasons. No disrespect to Buck Showalter, but we know how that relationship ended with the Mets and Buck Showalter last season. This team is just playing differently and showing a different display of confidence and camaraderie that they failed to display all of last season under Buck Showalter. I'm seeing a certain fire from Carlos Mendoza in the dugout. I'm seeing a certain energy from Carlos Mendoza leading this team, right? Not only the players that are supposed to be leaders, but the manager is also supposed to be a leader for the guys in the clubhouse. And we're seeing that, right? The fans are seeing that, because we don't see what happens in the clubhouse. We can't see what happens in the clubhouse. We don't know how those interactions go. What we can see is how this team is vibing in the dugout and how the manager is reacting to certain situations. And in this Pirates series, on multiple occasions, I saw everything I needed to see from the manager, Carlos Mendoza, to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to put my fear of a first-year manager aside and fully buy into this guy and trust in this guy to know that whatever he's doing behind the scenes is ringing through and getting into these players' skulls. That's what I'm taking away from this series, and that is, I guess, my little series in review and what I learned about this team personally here. So, and I think this win's coming the night here. I don't. This is just a random thought, but I had to favorite it. Oliver saying Mets need to sign Otani's interpreters to swipe some bags. That's the comedic relief you needed here after a sweep and after we're getting hyped. With the Mets improving to 10-8. So shout out to Oliver. We appreciate the comedic relief as always. And yeah, that whole situation is still absolutely crazy to me. We're not going to speak on it, although we might, because we do have a series against said team, Shohei Otani's team, coming up. And that is a 3-game set upcoming. We have the off day tomorrow on the 18th. Off day tomorrow, which I didn't know about. I thought we had, this is a rare off day here in the month of April for the New York Mets, which is much needed. So as a fan, I would have liked to see the Mets play and not kill the momentum. We were going to do an in-game live stream, Rob. We had both some time. We were going to do one, and then we find out that it's an off day, and we're like, crap, we might have to wait because it's going to be a busy weekend. For myself personally, I don't know what you got going on, but you might be able to go live. Nonetheless, here are your pitching matchups. We got Manaea versus Yamamoto. That's going to be an interesting one that a lot of Mets fans, and I'm sure the Mets organization, has marked on their calendars. Yamamoto is going in the opening game. These are just probables because the Dodgers haven't confirmed their starting pitching, starting pitchers. They haven't confirmed it yet. So these are just probables at the end of the day. Manaea versus Yamamoto. Buto versus Stone in game 2. And then you have Hauser versus James Paxton. Wasn't even aware that he's in the league. I'm not sure how old he is now, but he's been traveling all around. He's a journeyman at this point, making the start on Sunday for the Los Angeles Dodgers here. A lot to unpack. Obviously, here in game 1, you have Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I haven't really been paying attention to what the Dodgers have been doing, but before we started this live stream, I said I might as well know what I'm talking about. The Dodgers are 12-8 going into today. I'm not sure if their game has gone official just yet. There was the rubber match against the Washington Nationals today, and I believe that they were down 2-0 the last time I checked before we went live. They lost a series to the Padres before. They won a series against the Twins before that, and they lost a series against the Cubs before that one. So it's not like the Dodgers they are a super team on paper, right? But it's not like they're unbeatable. 12-8 to start the season. I think that's a fair start, but a lot of people expect the Dodgers to be like invincible or something like that to start this season. What do you make of this series? Can the Mets ride high into Los Angeles and get the job done in this series? And what are you most excited for here to see in this series?
Well, if there's one team I can't stand, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers and their fan base. And before I get into the series itself, I know Dodger fans are ready to come after me on my channel because they don't like me. And I tell you that from years of experience. Everybody, a lot of these people in your chat right now follow me for a while, subscribe to my channel a while. Dodger fans don't like me, and I get them all the time. I'm like, it'd be nice. The Mets make the playoffs. The Dodgers make the playoffs. You haven't beat us since '88 in the playoffs. So that's not important, but I just wanted to say that because I know I'm waiting for it. The Dodger series starts. I'm praying I can go live during the game on Friday, late at night, because I want the Dodger fans, because the Dodgers are 12-8. The Mets are 10-8. It's right there, right? This is the Dodger team that spent $1 billion. So for everybody who wanted the Mets to spend all this money, it's baseball. It's the same game, different rules, of course, but it's the same game. What I like about this matchup is that now I wish we didn't have an off day to kind of keep that momentum going. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a problem. I think the Mets deserve a day off after the way they came back from the 1-5 start. But what I like is that I think the pitching matchup's in our favor. I know Manaea Yamamoto is obviously it's going to lean towards the Dodgers. Stone's good, but Buto, I think he's the type of guy that I think he's going to thrive in this big moment. And Hauser against Paxton. I mean, you can make that a wash, but I like Hauser. His last outing was pretty good. And Paxton is a guy, doesn't throw as hard as he used to. So I think the Mets can take advantage of that. We know about the Dodgers lineup. They score runs. But if the Mets offense continues to score runs as well, which bullpen are you going to go with? The Mets or the Dodgers? The Mets are a lot better than the Dodgers bullpen right now. Now, that can change, and I don't want to hear Braves fans or Dodger fans talk about injuries. I don't want to hear it at all, because when Mets fans use that excuse, it's, oh, typical Mets fan using injuries as an excuse. No, sorry. I don't care if all your guys, the Buellers, the Mays, the Kershaws, and the Millers are not in the rotation right now because of injury. I don't care. The Mets don't have Kodai Senga, and we're working with a bunch of 3s or 4 starters, and we're 10-8, and they're pitching better than most starting rotations in baseball. So the way I see it is here, the Mets slightly have the edge pitching matchup wise. I think we have the better bullpen, and I'm not going to fight anybody when it comes to lineups. The Dodgers lineup is dangerous, but their lineup is very top heavy. Look at the bottom of the order. You're going to tell me the Mets bottom of the order is not better than the Dodgers better than bottom of the order? I think it kind of is. Now, when the Dodgers are top heavy, that's it. Like, I think they're more vulnerable than people think. And I want to give a shout out to, I don't know what's his name, the Padres. When the Padres faced the Dodgers, the Padres, I think it was reporter, team reporter, or it was a commentator, either radio or TV, said that the Dodgers look more vulnerable than what the national audience or the national media is letting on. Everybody, bent over a barrel for the Dodgers. Oh, look what they did. Because we know, we said it, Chris, if the Mets would have done what the Dodgers did, they would have got killed for it. But yet everybody praises the Dodgers. They're like the darlings of the National League. They're like the Yankees of the National League. The Yankees can do no wrong for the national media. The Dodgers the same way. The Dodgers are a team that chokes almost all the time. And Dodger fans are going to get on me with your bullshit 2020 World Series. I don't care. It's bullshit. Sorry. You can't win a World Series in a real season, and then you want the respect from other fan bases and baseball media and national baseball fans across the country. No. Do it when it's a 162 game season, right? Because your manager sucks. He is a choke artist. Dave Roberts is a joke. Because I'm telling you right now, the Dodgers don't win the World Series and they get bumped in the playoffs, which will probably happen because that's their MO. Dave Roberts everybody's going to want to fire Dave Roberts because you can't have a team like the Dodgers and still lose. But it is baseball, so I can't always blame Dave Roberts. But I'm sick and tired of, it's always the Dodgers and the Yankees. Look at the favorites to win World Series or to be in the World Series. Dodgers, Yankees, Dodgers, Yankees. It seems like that's the matchup every year everybody picks. Every year, regardless of the off seasons these teams have. Yet, it never happens. Like, stop dreaming and work in reality a little bit. And look, I am not telling you the Mets are a World Series bound team. But they're better than people giving them credit for. And I'm sick and tired of these idiot media people and national audience continue to kill the Mets when they're playing better than anybody in baseball right now. And a little respect and recognition goes a long way. I'm not telling you to tell the Mets are a great team, but they could have been buried in the middle of April. And I'm sorry I went on that big rant, but I hate the Dodgers.
I was going to say, that sounds like a personal vendetta, and I'm all here for it because I despise the Dodgers as well. Not so much, I should say, not as much as I despise the Braves, but they're definitely up there as well. Obviously, you got to keep your NL East division rivals at the top of the barrel in terms of the hatred towards that organization, but the Dodgers are certainly up there as well. And it is true, like the social media and just the media in general's bias towards everybody else, but I guess besides the team that I root for, right, with the Knicks and the Mets, like it's just absolutely exhausting and nauseating to go on social media and just like watch these rankings. Like the Mets, case in point, the Mets went into Atlanta, a place that they've been perpetually struggling at for the last couple of seasons. Took a series from them and they got dropped. They dropped one in the ranking instead of moving up. Like, that's just like the prime example. Now, it's just rankings at the end of the day. Me as a fan, I'm never really going to care about that, because at the end of the day, what matters is wins and losses and is the record. But it's just sort of annoying because you have to sit there on social media. You go on social media and you have to just sit there and listen to it, and they just don't shut up about it. So nonetheless here, I want to point out this comment right here from Ant Subway to Shade podcast. Make sure you all subscribe over there. By the way, hit that thumbs up as well. About 50 people in the chat right now. We got 17, so we got about 67 to 70 people in the chat right now. This is a huge test for Jose Butto. If he can handle that Dodgers lineup, he should never leave the rotation. I agree with this, but I think that even if he doesn't handle the Dodgers lineup, I still think he shouldn't leave the rotation for Tyler McGill, who is said to be ramping up here and maybe rejoining the Mets here shortly as well from that shoulder strain. I'm taking Jose Butto over Tyler McGill 10 days, maybe even 11 days out of 10, all day, every day, because of the bulldog mentality and just the sheer stuff that he has. I talk about the efficiency landscape of these starting pitchers, and that's my concern moving forward. So why would I have Tyler McGill replace Jose Butto if I'm worried about efficiency? Tyler McGill endlessly goes to 3-2 counts, endlessly, and can't finish batters. Like, he has no put away pitches that work for him consistently. So why would I replace Jose Butto, who's looked dominant in his first 2 starts this season after being called up and sent down after posting zeros all spring training long? I forget it. Tyler McGill can either take a seat on the bench, he can go to the bullpen over there, take a seat on the bench, or he can go to Syracuse, as far as I'm concerned, because we all know the bullpen sort of experiment with Tyler McGill hasn't worked. That's just my 2 cents. The Mets rotation is already hurt by the absence of Kodai Senga. So why would you hurt it even more by bringing back a guy that, seriously, like, you're talking about a guy that you'd be lucky to even go 5 innings. Like, you can't even expect, like, it's all cards off the table, all bets off the table of 6 innings with Tyler McGill. It's 5 if you're lucky, or 4 1/3 if he has a decent start according to his standards. Sorry, that's a little bit of a rant on Tyler McGill. I just simply don't think that he is a long-term starting option for the New York Mets. And I think that he has good stuff. He has good velocity. And when he has his command, he can be a good pitcher. I'm not going to discredit that, but it's more so in the bullpen. I'd like to see shorter spurts of him rather than a long start, and that's just my 2 cents on that. But I absolutely agree with you. I think you can say probably here that the Mets might have just equivalent, maybe even a top notch here of, I guess, starting pitching favorites here. Like, they could be a little bit of in the favorite category in terms of the starting pitching. Yamamoto here, I'm circling now on my calendar all day. That's what I'm watching for here in this series. Yamamoto, listen, I'm not going to say it's disrespect. He grew up a Dodgers fan, all that good stuff, but just the whole process didn't sit right with me, right? Especially with the media clowning that the Mets got after Yamamoto kind of just like tickled the Mets and was like, okay, I might come here. Let me go to Steve Cohen's house and get some dinner. Let Mrs. Cohen cook dinner for me, and then let me just go to the Yankees, see what their offer is, and let me just go choose the Dodgers. No. Here, I'm circling this on my calendar, Mr. Yoshinori Yamamoto. You are in for a rude awakening. I hope the Mets offense shows up not only with a late comeback. I want them to get on the board early and often on Yamamoto and get him out of that ball game. If not against anybody else, right? I don't care. Mr. Stone can go 6 innings and then we can make a late comeback. I want to put the pedal to the metal against the Dodgers in game 1. That's all I got to say here. So, Rob, any other words here, not only about this upcoming Los Angeles Dodgers series, right? We kind of already went on a rant about what we want. This is a little bit of like a personal series for us with our bias against the Dodgers, right? No disrespect to their fans. Obviously, an organization that continually puts out a playoff contender each year. Some would say even a World Series contender, although they really haven't won anything, minus that COVID year trophy, which you already said your piece about, and I tend to agree with you. What else you got here? Final words, final remarks before we go out here and enjoy our Wednesday nights. Anything else from you?
Yeah, I can care less about the Dodger fan base. I don't like them at all. I'm not gonna lie. Like I have a personal vendetta against them, and that's okay. And I do have to say, a lot of those people that followed me on my channel when I went to Dodger Stadium in 2021, they actually came up to me and they said it to my face. So I appreciate that respect factor. They said it in my face, and I do. Sorry, my cat's biting my foot. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. Yeah, and so I appreciate that fact. But look, I don't like the Dodgers. Look, this is personal for me. Like, I'm praying the Mets don't have a bad series because I know what's going to happen. But again, it's going to go both ways, and I respect the baseball fan as a whole. So it's just, I have vendettas against certain fan bases. And it's kind of sad that I hate the Dodger fans more than the Yankee fans, even though I lived with Yankee fans for a long time. But I do want to see the Mets get to another level against the Dodgers here. Like,
yes,
they need to. This is the series to finally get respect from the national audience and the national fans in baseball. Now, I don't think they care about that. I think they just want to win ball games regardless of who it's against, because you are a professional. You just want to win ball games. But winning a series like this, or even if we play well but lose the series, I feel better going into San Francisco knowing that we played with championship caliber teams. But what if we do take the series against the Dodgers? What are they going to say? Oh, they got lucky. The Dodgers have too many injuries? Because that's what you're going to hear, Chris. So my final thought about this is that I wish we were playing tomorrow so we can keep that momentum going. We're not. We can't change that. But I think the confidence level for the players, management, owner, all of it's sky high right now. But they can't get too ahead of themselves. They can't, toot their own horns. They can't, walk into Dodger Stadium, looking like their shit don't stink and like they're the best team in baseball. Now, they are record-wise over the last 13, but that means shit. That means nothing. Go in there, all about business. And I think what they've been showing is that they can win in a multitude of ways. They can win by a low-scoring game, a pitching duel. They can outscore you in a hitter's duel, and both of those things is what I've seen from the Mets for the first 18 games of the season. The Dodgers, on the other hand, look at the games they won to the games they lost. The games they won, they blew out their opponent. The games they lost, they couldn't win close games. They don't get blown out, but they don't win close games. And they did lose 2-0 today, by the way. And oh, by the way, I'm looking at their lineup. After 1 through 5, what scares you? Muncy, Kiki Hernandez, Outman, Pages, Lutz? No. I mean, I can literally argue the Mets have a deeper lineup, better top heavy for the Dodgers, but an overall better lineup. The Mets are pretty damn good. Now, we can't match Betts or Ohtani or Freeman.
yeah,
and even Smith for that matter. I mean, I would just be a homer if I said that. But
right.
Overall lineup, there's no reason why the Mets can't be a better lineup overall. The way we score runs, this is not a small ball Dodger team. They rely on their home runs. They don't get a lot of back to back hits. They gotta hit home runs. If you keep them in the ballpark, you're gonna win the series, in my opinion, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ricardo's kind of backing this up, saying that the Dodgers really aren't that great. They're a little bit top heavy, like you said. Now, like I said, when you compare the Mets and the Dodgers rosters, right, and the way they win ball games, it's really not the same, right? The Mets really aren't going to blow you out of the ballpark with the home runs. The Dodgers will on a good day, right? So comparing for the Mets to go into this series and comparing, right, we need to do X, Y, Z just as good as the Dodgers is not a recipe for success. Play your game the way you've been playing over the last 13 games, and good things will happen. I think that's where the Mets are going to succeed. So that's just my final take on it. We'll see what happens. The Mets are riding high, even with the off day. Regroup, rest, all that good stuff. The Mets are winners of 10 out of their last 13 games after a dreadful 0-5 start. This has been night and day, a different team that we've been seeing through and through. So ride high. off the sweep against a pretty decent, right, April Pirates team. I say April because I do think they're going to fall off, and I said that even before the series. And then we'll see where the series takes us. I'm sure we'll do some sort of roundtable or just a series recap as well, whether it's a post game after game 3, etc. And we'll talk about the series and review kind of like we did here with the Pirates. But this has been another edition, right? The second edition of this season of the Simply Amazing Mets post game. This is a little bit of a unique edition because this is the debut of dual streaming both through the PSF app here that I'm looking at and my YouTube channel here that I'm looking at. So I appreciate you all, I guess, working with me in terms of getting and navigating this whole being a host here on both sides. Hopefully, I did a good enough job, and hopefully, you all enjoyed the stream here. I know Mr. Nobody's saying great post game. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support, Mr. Nobody. Thank you to everybody, Junior Swingman, Ricardo, Daniel, everybody, Oliver, Carlos, everybody. Salute to the chat if I missed you, and Subway to Shay. Thank you all for supporting the guys. Thank you for supporting the content. We are going to log off here and do the same here. I know a lot of Mets content creators. It's an exciting time to talk about Mets baseball. A lot of good Mets content being displayed here, not only on PSF, but also on YouTube. So I definitely appreciate that. Rob, thank you so much. Be easy. We'll be over here. Hopefully we can do a stream. We're going to do a pregame on Friday. I'll be definitely down for that. My schedule is a little hectic this weekend, so we'll chat offline to see what we can versus can't do. But as always, LGM, toss in those LGMs in the chat. Your New York Mets are red hot, rolling onto the West Coast. I wish I had some shades with me. I'd put on my shades, but it's strictly business as we head into LA, taking on those pain in the asses, let's just face it, the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll see what happens. The Mets should not fear anybody. They're playing some great baseball. So, like I said, it's been your boy CP and Rob. I appreciate you all. Let's go Mets. And we'll see you all on the next edition of either the pregame or the postgame. See y'all later.
Let's
Peace.
go Mets.
Let's go Mets.